Hi everyone, and welcome to Lessons from a Lurker. As you can see, I've just stuck my head out the window, so my glasses are still a little bit tinted because they're those reactor light ones, and it's a gorgeous day here today. I've already been out for my early morning walk because it was so beautiful. I thought I can't leave this, especially as the weather's supposed to be turning. So we went out really early this morning, and the sky was blue, kind of like the background behind me, actually. It was wall to wall sunshine, still a little nip in the air, which was really lovely. But it was so nice to be out walking. And even at 8 this morning, you could feel the warmth in the sun. In fact, too much more weather like this, and I'll have to go back into the office to get the air conditioning because it's been proper hot in here. So, what might you hear today? Well, apart from my stories, you might hear what's going on outside because I've had to open the window. I'm using my trusty podcast mic through Crisp, so hopefully it'll cut a lot of it out. But you might hear cockerels crowing. You might hear a neighbour skipping because it's one of those really whippy skipping ropes I can hear. So you might hear that. You might hear all sorts of things. So I hope it's not too distracting anyway. So welcome. Say hi if you're here. I can see that someone's joined us. Carrie, good morning from northern Minnesota. How is it there? What's the weather like there now? It's beautiful and sunny here. It's still a little crisp because it's only March, but it's 11 degrees and wall-to-wall sunshine today. So we're very lucky here today. And that's why I went for my walk earlier. And that's why I shall pop my head out before my... Oh, not hearing anything but me. That's good, Carrie. That means my crisp filter is working well. You can't hear the cockerels crowing and the skipping rope next door and all of that stuff. So this has been such an exciting week. Carrie still has snow on the land and the ice is still, wow. So it's still properly cold there, right? Yeah, the lake. Yeah, I figured it was the lake that was iced over. Do people actually skate on it, Carrie? It's one of the things I've always wanted to do is skate on a properly frozen lake, but we don't get that kind of cold here. So I'd need to go somewhere else to do it. And of course, travel still isn't possible. So it's not something I'll do for a while yet, that's for sure. So what's been going on for me this week? Some really exciting things, actually, in that it's been a busy week with training and getting stuff ready. And I will be coming to ask some of you in Introvert's Corner some of the phrases that resonate with you, because I'm about to start putting more materials together and I want to make sure that it really resonates with you. So I may well be coming to you in Introvert's Corner to ask you for what resonates, what doesn't. And then there was International Women's Day yesterday, and I decided to go for it. And what I decided to go for was 3 posts on LinkedIn. And the first post, you may have seen it, the first post was me doing a quick video on the Institute of Learning and Institute of Leadership Management's wall. And of course, I chose to talk about choosing to challenge the way introverts are perceived. And then there were another couple of posts. The last one of the day was on the We Are the City. And there was a quote from me about what's important for me as a woman to challenge. And it was about introverts and introverted women, no surprise there. And in the one in the middle was a surprise to me. Yes, I submitted it, but I didn't know until just before it went live that it was live. And it was the Successful Founders group and page. And it gave me the opportunity to talk about what's important to me as a founder of a business, who's inspired me. So I got the opportunity to talk about one of my mentors, Linda Holt, who's a great friend, been a great inspiration, and she's been with me on this journey right from the start. So she's very important to me. So I really appreciated those. And then last of all, I put a meme up in Introvert's Corner, and it was the choose to challenge again. But it was choosing to challenge what it means for us to be an introvert and what it means to be understood by others. And the meme I posted at the weekend, and I can't even remember what it was, I ought to look, but people started saying we ought to have merchandise around it. And I loved that idea so much. So, question to you, whether you're watching live, and there are a few of you here now, or whether you're hashtag replay, and do hashtag replay so that I know you're responding and commenting to the replay. Would you wear Flourishing Introvert merchandise? Because some of the merchandise I've seen is very much divisive as opposed to inclusive. And you know that Flourishing Introverts is all about helping introverts be the best they can be, but also being inclusive in the way it does it. Because I'm all for helping people understand introversion and us therefore educate other people rather than just kind of, not. So the meme I posted, I'm just finding it for you now, if you can see me looking down. The meme I posted that people started to say, hey, that should be is this. I like being quiet. And it's a rephrase, a reframe almost of the one that you often see about, I like solitude, so your company has to be better than my solitude. And I reworked that based on a podcast episode I was creating around the conversations that introverts enjoy. Because yes, we know we don't particularly like small talk, but we can talk. And in the podcast episode, I talk about the fact that get a group of introverts together and we can really talk. And I'm curious about what the shorthand is that gets us there quickly. Anyway, the meme I created was, I like being quiet. Therefore, in order to engage me, our conversation has to be more rewarding than my silence. And that was the one that a couple of people responded to and said, yeah, that ought to be merch. So I can imagine that on a mug. I can imagine that on a sweatshirt. And one of the people in the group actually said, funnily enough, I create sweatshirts. So there's a possibility. So what do you think? Hashtag replay. Would you be interested in? Would you buy? Would you wear Flourishing Introvert merchandise that showed the positive aspects of introverts and what we're looking for, what we're aspiring to, not what not to do with us? Because so much of it is like, clear off, go away, I don't want to talk to you, which isn't how I am as an introvert personally. So let me know in the comments, either yeah or no, or maybe, depends what it looks like, depends who designs it. There could be all sorts of responses to that. But that's something I'm really kind of curious about now, as to whether there's a possibility for that. I'd start small, I think. I'd start with mugs and things that, people can obviously use. But me being me, they'd have to be nice mugs, because I hate thick mugs that I don't like drinking out of. But that's just my preference. But I have a bigger question for you. And the bigger question I have for you is, how do you navigate small talk? Again, we know that most introverts kind of don't like small talk, aren't comfortable with it, don't know quite what to say. But for Introverts Week next week, which I'm really excited about, there'll be an email going out tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah, there'll be an email going out tomorrow about what to look out for in Introverts Week. But I'm really curious to think about how introverts navigate small talk. Because in the podcast episode I recorded that goes live this Thursday, what I've realized is that it may be a necessary evil if what we're going to do is move those conversations onto a more generative level. So I responded in someone's group that as an introvert, I really enjoy generative conversations, the conversations that open up new possibilities, open up new ways of thinking, kind of break new ground. What I'm not interested in are what I call bland conversations and what are sometimes called soft talk, where actually all we're doing is just regurgitating the same old, filling time, filling space, filling silence. And, that doesn't do it for me. But that actually I realize that that's a stepping stone to get me to the conversations that I enjoy more, the generative conversations and what I'm calling the respectful conversations, the ones that get curious, that get us curious. I'm just going to put something that Paul set up here. Let's put that up. Tend not to navigate small talk by going straight into the deeper stuff. I think just to listen, often to not respond until the conversation drops into the interesting zone. Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, Paul, actually, in terms of, typically conversations start with that small talk. So I believe that as an introvert, I need a way to at least not reject that completely so that I can get into the interesting stuff that I enjoy, which is the generative conversations. And before that, the respectful conversations, the ones that get curious about, so why is that important to you? Why do why do you feel that? Where has that come from? I'm really curious about that before we get into the breaking new ground. Yeah, Carrie's saying the same thing, not interested in small talk. Yeah, love communicating about something of essence. Yeah, absolutely. So something that's deep and meaningful. But I also realized that when I talk about introverts enjoying meaningful conversations, that can be a bit patronizing and condescending, like other people don't enjoy those. So I've had to be a bit mindful of the fact that, yeah, of course, other people enjoy those. It's just that most introverts, unless you're the sociable type of an introvert, kind of wants to shortcut the small talk in order to get to the juicy stuff. And the thing that became clear to me is because social interaction drains my battery, especially social interaction with the wrong people, with the drains rather than the radiators. In order for me to engage in that social interaction, it has to matter to me, which is why I don't engage with small talk, because it doesn't matter to me. Sounds awful in a way, but it's true. But where I do engage, where it does matter, is where I come alive. And I love seeing a group of introverts together who seem to just cut straight through the soft talk or the bland conversations, as I call them, and get into the juicy stuff, the meaty stuff fairly quickly. And so I'm really curious to figure that out. Let's see what's Paul said. What I do know is that to either do what you do and ask the real questions, yep, or just say precisely how small talk makes me feel, which in turn could, yes, I'm with you on that, because I also am a big fan of honesty. And funny enough, I've just been running a course with one of my corporate clients on personal ethics and ethical communication. And they're fairly young people. And what they've been sharing is that it's the first time they've ever been asked to think about their personal ethics. And that's absolutely right, isn't it? Unless people have studied philosophy as a young person, typically we don't start thinking about it until much later. And in the podcast, I talk about, the whole, our whole moral and ethical development. It's not until we get to that point where actually we're starting to question who we are, what our legacy is, what we're leaving behind in this world, that we start to think about some of those important questions. But personally, especially with what's going on at the moment, I think personal ethics is something that we would do well for people to understand much earlier in life. Anyway, I digress. And Paul said, yes, if it's meaningful, it matters. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just a big fan of those big, meaningful conversations that can go on for hours, that can have me scratching my head, that frankly can have me uncomfortable sometimes. And I have been known, and I think I may have even asked or said this to Paul in the past, which is, can you ask an easier question, please? Because I know how those really searching questions can have me squirm a bit, can have me get a bit uncomfortable. But they're the questions that I need to be asked and that I need to be asking people, not the, did we watch the latest TV? What do we think of what the influencers are doing? I'm really not interested in that. What I'm interested in doing is creating a legacy that changes people's lives, so the legacy that enables introverts to flourish, to be proud of their introversion, not to be, not to have to struggle through in a world that's biased against them. Oh, just going to share this. Feelings of relief experiencing listening to you. It would appear and you're absolutely not mad, Paul. Well, if you are, then I am too. If I am, you am. If I am, you am. If I am, you are too. Yeah. So no, we're not mad in the least bit. So that's my contribution on Lessons from a Lurker for today. But what I seriously want to do is, any of you are interested in just recording a quick conversation with me about this small talk issue with introverts and about how we navigate it. I want to build it into an episode that we release next Thursday, because that'll be during that International Introverts Week. So please just let me know in the comments, either live now or #replay, whether you'd be prepared to have that kind of conversation with me that I can then build into a really interesting multi-person podcast episode for releasing next week. Anyway, lovely. Gosh, 17 minutes already. Time I was gone. Time I was out of here. I'm training again at 2 o'clock, so I need to go and have some lunch. And I'm going to thank you, Paul. Paul's happy to do that. I'll set up some time for us to do that, Paul. So in the comments underneath this in Facebook, what I'll do is I'll put the link to my Calendly so that anyone who's interested can book time in my calendar, and we can just record your thoughts about this whole small talk, or bland talk as I'm calling it, and how as introverts we need to get onto the meatier stuff. So time for me to go stick my head outside again, because it's still gorgeous. Time for me to get some lunch, and time for me to get ready for my 2 o'clock training. Look forward to seeing you all soon, and look forward to you booking in some time with me. Take care now.